So, dear guests, this episode is not sponsored by the pizzeria. We just bought it ourselves. Just so. This is not a product placement or anything like that.
No, it's not.
But I mean, if there is a pizzeria out there nearby in Copenhagen that would want to sponsor this podcast, I'm not going to be against it.
Please contact us.
What do you say?
Please contact us.
Yes.
DM.
DM
whatever,
to the work email.
in the commentaries. All right. I'm ready.
All right, Kim is ready. He says, away from the mic.
Great.
Okay, so
Hello.
when we're talking, just try to keep it like a maximum fist away from your. Yeah.
Cool.
Can you help him to lock the mic because I can see that it's falling down the whole hand. Yeah, perfect. All right, Daniel. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Could you just briefly introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'll do that without eating pizza because otherwise this is going to be chewing and all the things. Introducing myself. How do you do that? I'm Daniel. I'm from Denmark, but I probably identify more with being American now than I do identifying being Danish. But
No way.
yeah,
So-
like English as well. It's like I feel like way more comfortable speaking English. I'm more myself basically because I've lived in Hawaii for the last like 5.5 years plus a bit more. So
why do you live in Hawaii, or have you lived in Hawaii?
I live in Hawaii because what is it now? 10 years ago, I felt led to go to this organization called Surfing the Nations. I felt very specifically after going on their website, like I was kind of searching for things and kind of just like, it's actually through a Swedish friend that I hadn't met or talked to in like, or I have met, but I hadn't talked to in like probably 15 years at that point. And he had gone there to this organization, and like even a year prior to this, I saw this organization as a possibility. I was starting education, so it wasn't really possible for me to go there. And then a year later, I had a job and I wasn't in education anymore. And God just spoke to me very clearly. Like I felt God speak to me, and He said, like, you're going to be working with this organization. So from there, I basically just went to Hawaii for 3 months first, did an internship, came back 4 or 5 times after that to volunteer before I committed full time to being out in Hawaii with this organization. So, yeah.
Did you know how to surf before you went there?
No,
Okay.
I was a kook. Yeah.
Okay. So you actually
Yeah.
learned
A kook?
there.
Yeah, a kook.
What does that
A
mean?
kook is like the same thing with like in snowboarding, you have a jerry. Or like in Sweden, for example, they call them Danish, or that's a Danish guy because he's so bad at skiing.
Oh, right, okay.
So it's the same way.
I heard one time they were saying that as our friend Matthias, he ski. So he said the first time he saw like a little kid doing all the skills.
Yeah.
And then he fell, and then the kid was looking strange to him, and then he said, "Oh, undskyld, jeg er dansker." And then oh, okay, this fine. So that was
Oh gosh.
a joke. Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know the way that they treat. So it's Kook, you say the name?
Kook.
Kook. Okay.
Kook.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like a thing.
Beginner.
Like, yeah,
Noob.
but they will call you a kook if you do something stupid out in the water as well.
Okay.
Like it's a quite like negative. It's not just like something for fun you throw
No,
around. Like,
no.
yes, you can throw it around your friends, but it's like if you get called a kook by an uncle or an auntie, it's like, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
it's
you,
something you like. Sometimes you take it like lightly because some of them also just like think they own the place, but I don't know. Yeah,
It's like being called like a brat, anyway.
it's almost no, not called being a brat because brats they just take things. Kooks they don't know what they're doing.
Okay, so more like a noob
Yeah,
in a game.
like they don't know when to wait and turn, or they don't know like how to surf even. They'll just go straight where you should cut the line instead
Right.
of going straight, because you don't enjoy the wave as much when you just go straight, because you just end up in the whitewash and then you miss the wave. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so I've only tried being a cook then.
Yeah. But it's okay. Everybody has to start somewhere. Like kids as well. Like Kelly Slater, 11-time world champion, was a cook at one time. There's a good cook and there's a bad cook. There's like cooks that don't know what they're doing at all and don't try to learn. And then there's cooks that are like, I'm trying very hard to learn and I'm making a good effort and putting a lot of effort into learning.
How long did it take for you to actually like transition from,
I'm like,
you know, like first day you were like the biggest cook
yeah.
until you were like not a cook anymore? Is it like
I don't know.
6 months, 4 months? Like how hard do you
I
need to?
don't know. I'm probably still a cook in some ways.
Dang.
I don't know. It depends on how much time you put into it. Like it's the same if you go on a ski trip. Like you learn in like very quickly. If you go on one trip, like 2-week trip, you learn like rather quickly, like step by step. But if you go surfing on a like go on a vacation to Portugal, for example, and you surf 1 or 2 times in like a 3-week thing, then you're not going to become very good. But like if you go consistently, if you go to a surf camp, for example, and like hustle for like 2 weeks, you're going to become like half decent at it. So it
And that's
depends.
what you run, like you run surf camps and stuff?
No, I wasn't at a surf camp, but we had surf like 15, 20 minutes away from where I lived. And like during internship, I was surfing quite a bit.
Right, okay.
I would surf like at least once or twice or 3 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
But
So in a surf camp, do they like
they
surf
like
every day?
they
and
surf
go
every day,
like step
multiple
by
times a
step,
day,
do like
and, like,
drills and stuff?
yeah, like it like depends on what kind of surf camp you go to.
Right.
But I've never been to one, but that's what I've heard. It's like
Or maybe that's why you're still cooked then.
yeah, maybe I don't know. But it's like surf camp are like mostly for beginners.
All
It's like
right.
they go to the beginner spots, they get like pushed into waves. They'll like some camps will even like video. They're like like students and like tell them like view it afterwards and say like you're doing this wrong, you need to do this better, and like coach them basically, which is super helpful.
Right.
But I didn't have that, so I just had to like most of us had to just like hustle and work and work and work and work on it.
So you just basically just got a board and then went to the beach.
Yeah.
All right.
And then you just learned when you got some stinky eyes looking at you, you just okay, I did something wrong, and you corrected, or you got told by your friend who knew surfing better that, dude, you just cut this dude off. You just snaked him so hard, and you can't do that.
Oh,
So
right, okay.
then you learn, okay, I should not do that. I need to look and like, is there anybody else on the wave? No, okay, I can go for it.
Okay, so
Yeah.
there's some, so there's some stuff you gotta, like,
Yeah.
that is like, it's like, people from the hood, they know what's up, but if you're not from the hood, you're gonna get shot. So is
Yeah.
it kind of like the same vibe in a way? Like,
Yeah. If you
there are
walk
like
in,
unspoken rules?
yeah, unspoken rules.
Yeah.
There are some spoken rules, but you don't get like nobody walks up to you. Like nobody knows. Like unless okay, this is kind of fun because you walk with your surfboard and it feels good. But somebody who walks with a surfboard slightly different, or you can clearly see if a person is a beginner. And lifeguards, let me tell you, like they can look at you one look and tell you like that's a beginner. Because they have to make sure that the people walking out in the water are safe. And if the person is a beginner, they're not going out to the big waves. So they'll walk up to the beginner saying like, you can't go there. And I'm walking with the same board and I know how to surf, and they walk up to me. So it's like judgment. Like some rules are just like told, like some people can tell if you're a beginner, but they're not going to walk up to you like, oh yeah, this is how surfing works. This is how all of surfing works. You rolling up to the beach. It's not going to happen. It's just either you're going to get told by the surf coach or the person you rented boards from, or you're going to get yelled at out in the water. Or some people are polite and some people walk up to you and say like, you shouldn't do that. Like instead walk around or paddle around or do something like that. But you get met by anything like that out in the water. Like good and bad. Yep. So it's a bit of everything. Like you learn a lot from going out. You learn a lot about about people and about yourself, because it's a selfish sport. You're just out there surfing.
Have you tried surfing also in Denmark?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there actually difference in surfing cultures? Can you compare it to like Hawaiian people? As far as I'm imagining them,
Yeah.
I see people from Hawaii. They're like chill, like no hurry. Like I don't know. Maybe today we are gonna go out and hit the waves. Kind of deep people. I could also imagine Australians are like that.
Yeah.
No, I think Australians are a bit more, like
On it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But Hawaiians, it just sounds like it's people that just have all the time of the world. Is that true?
It depends on who you talk to. I would categorize it into a few different categories. You have, let's say, like these stoner types, chill longboarders, or even chill types that are like hardcore, like shortboarders. But you got athletes out in the water. This is their work. If they don't make it, then they have to go back to normal, like work type of like 9 to 5.
Okay.
So they are like determined. Like they're not, let's go chill.
Yeah.
They're like hard hustling people, like working out, eating right, and doing all those things. And then you of course have like some people, like I'm probably a bit more chill, but I also go between two different things. Either I'm like hardcore into big waves and like I have to be like game face on, or I just go out for having fun. And then I can be a bit more chill. I can sit and watch the waves for a while and just take it easy, because there's no hurry in it. Otherwise you're ruining it. Mm-hmm. But then there's also sometimes like I'm going out in these massive waves, and you need to like, you can't just go into the water thinking like, I'm just going to have a chill like session. Like I could, if I'm not aware, I could get hurt. Like you have to be aware. You have to be alert. You can't go into surfing like, too chill.
Yeah.
But some people maybe can, but Danish people, I don't know if they're like a mix of it. I think they carry a bit more of the stoke out in the water.
What does that mean? Sorry.
The stoke is like just excitement.
Okay.
Like when they catch a wave or something like that, I think they get a bit more stoked maybe. Mm-hmm. Especially if it's a good wave, because we don't get many good waves in Denmark.
Not even on the...
No, like you get good waves, but it's not like comparing this, not Denmark to Hawaii is like worlds of difference, I would say. But
all right, so how do we categorize waves? There are the short ones, like the tall ones, right?
The tall ones and
the short ones.
The short ones.
Then is there some kind of like a spread of like how wide they are, how thick they are?
Yeah. Oh, there's such a big variety.
All right, so
it's a jungle almost. Like, so you got two different these are two primary like bottoms of surf breaks. There's sand bars, and then there is reef breaks, and they carry very different kind of waves. Like sandbars is a bit more normally slappy, like it means that it's like throws a bit more normally, and it comes in, how do you say, it walls up very quickly.
Okay.
And it's not very thick normally.
Okay.
Reef waves.
So the wave, if we are looking at the wave, it's not going to be too like this.
No.
It's going to be very...
Yeah. But then it depends on the swell. So the swell has something to say with
the
it.
Swell is like how far, how steep is the beach, or
no? The swell is like what comes in of like an actual wave from the outside. So they measure by the buoys on the outside, for example, or the actual forecast.
Okay.
So if there's a storm coming in, for example, a lot of wind coming in. Let's say there's a lot of wind coming in, and there's like on the forecast it says like there's like 2 or 3 foot waves, but they are, let's say, 5 to 8 second waves of like a wave period, which means that one wave is here, then 5 seconds later another wave passes the same size. Then if you look at it like this, like it goes up and down, so every 5 seconds is like very short. So there's not going to be much water inside each wave, because it doesn't has a chance of like going up and down very quickly. It's like the bigger time, basically, the more water is going to be in that wave.
Okay.
And the bigger it's going to get when it comes in. So it's like I don't know, it's there's so much to it. Like Denmark doesn't get very big period waves. Like the time in between the waves is not very big. So you always end up with a bit more slappy waves. that are fast and quick and like kind of not very, there's not much punch to it, like energy in it. There's not a lot of water in it. Where in Hawaii, for example, we get times where there's like 18-second waves, which is insane. So like you get a 2-foot swell coming in on an 18-second period, and it turns into like easy 10 feet, if not more. 10 feet waves coming in.
How much is 10 feet in
Like that's like plus 3 meters.
plus 3 meters? Okay.
So that's like overhead.
That would, bad.
Yeah.
That would already
From
mess you up.
2-point or 2-foot swell coming in, but it's because it's an 18-second period of swell. So 18 seconds in between every single wave, which is more ideal to have a bigger wave period than a smaller.
Have you ever surfed one of those?
I've surfed like 12, 13-foot waves.
What's the bigger one? Biggest?
That's like a 13-foot, yeah.
How was it?
That's fun. but you don't go out there like thinking like I'm just gonna chill.
Mm-hmm.
Like you go out there like with your bro and you like know that you
Game
have each
on.
other's backs and you like game face on and like okay. And you just look at people around you and you make sure you like not dropping in on anybody, because if you drop in on somebody on a 13-foot wave, there's not much to do that you can get out of it. You can't just dip out quickly or ditch your board, because you know you don't want to get smacked and you don't want to put the other person in danger. So you're like hyper aware. Like I'm using like 110% of my brain capacity and just overload for like an hour and a half. Yeah.
Man, that sounds really fun.
Yeah. Well, it is fun when you go down the face and you like, it's adrenaline for a guy, especially like it's like you come out of the water like after one wave and you just know that you scored the biggest wave and you're just like, wow. Like adrenaline is just going through your body and you just like, you get some uncles looking at you and you like, they like head nod you and say like, oh, that's good. And you're like, whoa. I just got complimented by a guy who called me a kook like maybe 5 years ago or something. I looked at me and thought like, he doesn't know what he's doing. So that's pretty sick. But then it's also fun like surfing like just like 5-6 like foot waves with a bunch of like fun people, friends, and you're just having fun. You're just jumping around and you're just like a kook out in the water, dropping in on each other's. You can sort of drop in on friends if you have that kind of relationship. You don't drop in on strangers, but if you have like friends, imagine just like tossing around and like just tackling one another and like doing all sorts of fun things in the water and getting like sick waves as well. It's just like you don't have to worry about safety too much, but you just have fun with it.
Right.
I like that.
I've seen some videos of like people getting like dragged behind the waves with those how do you call it?
Or
Like
the
those
jet skis.
jet skis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The tow-ins.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah. No,
That's
I
some
never.
crazy waves, right?
They're massive.
Yeah, just watching the videos, you feel like like a minuscule looking at those huge waves. They
No.
look like mountains, you know.
I don't want to.
No.
I don't think I would want to. I think I would want to like see it and like, I don't know if I would want to just like experience
it.
the power of that, because it's frightening. Like the power, there's so much water and you just feel the force of that kind of wave. Like that day I got like a 13-foot wave. I was like, there was coming 15-foot waves in, and that scared. Like I was so scared. I was like sitting there and like, if I got in trouble here, if my board like left me and I just had to swim around and I was right in the impact zone, I would be in trouble. Like for my life kind of trouble, like just ending up swallowing water, maybe like, you know, I don't know what could happen. Unfortunate things, of course, but you know,
It's also like crazy to be dragged around like that, you know, by those waters, you know. Like,
the washing machine. Yeah, you know it.
Did you ever get one of those?
Oh yeah, multiple times. Yeah, you just
Just
like go. People try to struggle through it. They like try to like actually like swim against it, but you can't do anything.
No.
Yeah. You just have to. You just float around for a while.
Yeah, but the challenge with those like huge waves when you're being dragged around like that is like you're gonna be down in the water for a
bit,
while.
Yeah. Yeah. It's scary. And
So do you then swim up or what?
No, you just gotta be good at like holding your breath.
yeah.
You know, like
then what?
then I mean you're gonna float up at some point.
At some point, unless you like, I have friends like the scariest thing is like a double wave hold down. It's like where you get tossed by one wave down, you just swirl around, you almost get to the top, and then another wave comes, lands right on top of you, and you just. So you basically have to hold your breath for like, it feels like an eternity. Like jumping into the water, like or like getting a wipeout, which means like just falling off the board on the wave, or like anything like that, and you get into the wave and you get into like the washing machine, as you call it. It feels like an eternity. Like 5 seconds feels like 15 seconds. It feels like half a minute almost. Like it just turns like it's crazy. So like when you get like pummeled by 2 waves, it's like you gasp for air. Like, gosh, you just, so you sometimes you have to like pull yourself up from the leash. So that means like the board is sticking up from the water, and it's the only thing that's on top, and you're like down, like as far down as you can go, and you have to basically grab your foot, your leash, and then you climb the leash all the way up. I've only done that once, and that was not fun because I could feel the leash. This is the really scary part. The leash is like a rubber material, like a plastic rubber thing. And like, you know, when like something like that gets old and it starts wrinkling when you start stretching it, I could feel it wrinkling. Like I could feel the crackling of it all the way up. And I just knew if that thing like let go, I would just, I would not have a board, and I'd have to swim all the way in. And that's not fun.
Dang.
Yeah.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah. No.
Is it true like that you need to like learn to like hold your breath for like, you know, a long time? I heard some guy talking about it being able to hold the breath for like 10 minutes and
Yeah.
stuff.
It's not necessary, but if you want to go big wave surfing, you kind of have to go that direction for sure.
Right.
You can't just rely on your like normal breathing, like sitting in an office and that's what you're meant to hold your breath when you're out, and like you're an athlete basically, or not an athlete, but you're like, you have to be able to perform. The better you perform out in the water, like physically, the more fun you can basically have. The less you have to think about your body and your safety and all that kind of stuff. Like you're basically pushing your body to be able to be out in rough conditions.
Right.
So you don't have to think about like, if I get smacked by this wave, like anybody could, not anybody, but a lot of people can maybe surf a big wave, but can that person survive like a big hold down from like 2 waves? Maybe not. So they are a big danger to people out in the water, because they are in trouble and they're going to get other people in trouble because they're going to try to be saved, you know? So I don't know. I've tried to like, I go for swims or like try to do breathing exercises, kind of, not really, probably more swimming, just to like build up my body to just like be used to swimming and to be used to like holding my breath, diving and stuff like that. But I didn't do too much of it. I know some people like do exercises, like some people daily, where they like lie down and they do like these, and then they'll hold their breath for like 30 seconds, breathe out, and then they breathe normally for half a minute. Then they like hold their breath again and like build up their stamina like that. But that's people who are like dedicated.
Right.
Have you ever tried these Wim Hof exercises, breathing exercises?
Like the Iceman?
The Iceman, yeah.
No, never.
He has some. I tried some of the exercises, and what is surprising, like you put so much oxygen into your blood that after this exercise, you are able to hold your breath for much longer than you naturally can. Like usually my breath holding would be like 30-40 seconds and like done, but with this one you can totally go for like over a minute without any training. You just oxygenate your so maybe Wim Hof is up to something. Maybe he's the next surfer. Do you know Wim Hof?
No, I don't know.
No, he was once
But
on
40 seconds, bro. Is that your maximum? Bro, that's like baby weight.
bro. I don't know. I'm not the biggest water survivor. I think I can swim. I can swim for a long time, but I cannot swim fast. I cannot swim fast. So like I'm not afraid of going into deep water, you know, because some people even like when they cannot touch the bottom with their feet, then they don't go deeper. I don't have a problem with that. Because like I know that even like if I'm in the sea, I can just lay on my back and like water will hold me, right? So like that's not a problem. I can take a break even from swimming if I'm too tired, right? So on a normal, we're not talking the crazy waves, right? So I was never afraid of that. But any time that I competed with somebody as a kid, I always got lost. I'm really not a fast swimmer. I don't know why is it. Maybe my body is not aerodynamic enough for water or something. Or maybe my skin is too dry, so then I'm dragging so much water with me. I'm not slippery enough.
Me and Rafa, we used to go to like competitions, like swimming competition stuff. You know, like we used to have like a bunch of medals at home.
No, really?
Yeah.
I throw everything in the trash.
Really?
I don't know. Probably.
Okay.
We're moving to Denmark, you know. Let everything behind. Knew you.
Leave the past behind.
I'm a new man. Yeah.
No pass. No, but I remember like a lot of pictures of Kim there, number one winner. I remember I was in the practice, going to swim and everything. I was very cold, you know, so every time when it's close, I know 30 minutes, like 20 minutes close to finish the practice and you can go home. I was just always like freezing and shaking, like, hey teacher, I need to go out of the water now. You know, they're like, no, it's almost done. You stay a little bit more. You need to go 2 more times. You're like, okay. It was super.
Oh, I forgot to mention we were kids at this time.
Yeah.
You know, like,
We're kids.
yeah.
So did you actually ever win something like bigger?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, big competition.
Nah, no, like
could you
for our
actually
age.
let's say that we are in the past, right? And I'm seeing you as a kid winning these, and I'm some kind of a trainer, like a talent seeker. Would I consider you like
Okay, so I got second place in the state competition,
state of
like Pernambuco, like it's in Brazil,
Okay.
like the north
Okay.
of Brazil, like it's a big state. I got second place, so it was. I think we're like pretty legit, you know. I don't know why my parents
Wow.
did this. I mean, like when you're a kid, it's just for fun. You don't think about those things, you know. Just afterwards, you kind of like, dang, I was pretty freaking good. Why did I stop?
So hard to get back into like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, because like your muscles, they adapt to what you're doing, you know. So
Yeah.
if you like stop,
Yeah.
you know, it's very hard to pick it up again, especially because then you're not gonna have the same performance. So it's
Yeah.
I feel the same with football. You know, I'm just so much lower than you used to. So every time we play, I just play as defender, and like, dang. The other thing that I know, like I used to do, it's like, oh, I could just take the ball here and da da da. I know I cannot do it anymore, so it's kind of frustrating. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever been like into like any other sports besides surfing?
I was a bit into soccer, but not much. I remember I did what they call I would say in America, it's called tracks. So it's basically like there's all these different like disciplines, and you do like, what do? You do running, you do sprints, long distance, you do high jumps, long jumps, you do throws of balls and spears and all these kind of things. And I remember I loved that. I loved especially sprinting. I was the fastest kid in class. I could sprint. I think I was faster than most of the kids in the grade above me. And as well, when we moved to a bigger school, I was like one of the fastest. But then I lost it because like when I was a kid, we used to play soccer all the time. It was like recess would happen and we would come, like we'd go out and play, and then we'd come in, all the guys would be sweaty from running so much, like dripping in sweat almost. That's how much we'd be running just for fun. So I was like, as well, like muscle memory, just like in me. I could just sprint, and I always like bring me the ball and I'll just run. So I did that for a while, but then
So did you bring actually the ball with you for the
Yeah.
sprinting competition?
I brought the ball, but I was not a good striker at all, so I didn't score much. But I could do that. But then when I turned, I think I was like 14, 15, we moved to a bigger school, and we didn't do sports there. We didn't do soccer every recess. I didn't do those kind of things anymore. We didn't like in our spare time play soccer. So it just kind of disappeared. So it's one of those things like I love sprinting. There's nothing like I can close my eyes and just hear the of me sprinting on like a slight gravel road, and it just like low key, like I just get happy thinking about it. I miss that very much.
Dang.
But yeah,
And you cannot sprint like that anymore.
I think I probably can, but not at the same like momentum. But like me and my brother were both like sprinters. We're both known to be like quick, fast on the track. But yeah, that's something I missed. But
So, why have you actually decided to go to Hawaii? Was it like you knew you were going to go and surf there? Like a surf and serve?
yeah, it was more serving for me at that point.
Okay.
Like I felt like this call from God, like you're going to be working with this organization. And at that point in my life, I was just like,
How old were you?
I just turned 19. I was 18 when I first heard about it. 19 when like the doors opened up like it was actually possible for me. And I was kind of, I low-key just felt like I was this person that was growing in my faith, and I kind of done this on my own. Like my walk with God was very much like I had just like walked out where I didn't know what was like I was walking into. I was just like having faith that God was real, and that like I met him, he met me in some like crazy way. But I was like, I felt like this puzzle piece in my community, like in my church, and everybody was around, that I was this puzzle piece that didn't fit. I was just trying to constantly, and I felt like maybe people as well was just constantly trying to make me fit into this puzzle piece, and I just couldn't. Or another way I could describe it is like I felt like this growing pain, and I just didn't feel like I could grow there. So I just like I had such a big urgency and just like I just want to get out. I just want to leave and basically become the person that I feel like I'm supposed to be. But I felt like so locked in. So that was a big thing, a reason for like me wanting to go as well. And then as well, like surfing, of course, was a big thing for it. It was like I had longboarded since I was 13, like skateboard longboarded since I was 13. And that was like a big passion, a big escape for me. So that was like a big passion of mine, but the peak of that was like the tip of the iceberg, or the tip of the mountain of that was like surfing. Surfing was like the coolest thing I could get to. From like if I was to go further in longboarding, it would be like surfing would be like the big thing. So I feel like God just orchestrated it in a way to just like, I see you, I have ministry for you, and I have people who are like you, and I have your passion all in one place. Here you go.
So, what is actually the principle of this organization? How does it work, and what do you guys do?
So we do a lot of different things, but we have a nonprofit, and the nonprofit is Surfing the Nations. And from there, we have training programs as well. We have outreaches to the people in our community, and we have business as well, coffee shop and a like vintage like store basically. And then I am probably more in the sister part of it, which is Surfers Church, which is the church part. And it's basically like not like any other church. I wouldn't say that because it's not, but it's like run by young people, and like some of the leaders in the like the founders of this organization are like, he was a hippie. He moved to Kauai when he was 18 from California to smoke pot and drop acid and just be a free man. Like that's what he did when he was like 17, 18. And then he like got saved through the movement in California in during the hippie movement, like at the Jesus Revolution. If you've seen that movie, he got saved in that first church that they go into that you see. And then he met his now wife, and she was a former Mormon. She was a Mormon when they met, and she was basically trying to like convince him that Mormonism was right. And he was basically trying to like, they were trying to like, you know, do the same thing, but just across. but she ended up getting saved, and then they are like the leaders of this organization. So it's like the way they go forward, and they've been a part of YWAM as well for like 25 years. It's like the way they go for life and the way they approach ministry and God is just like a very different, untraditional way of combining. Like they went out of YWAM and felt like they should start this nonprofit, and the nonprofit just started working in just crazy waves of like opening up doors that churches don't get opened up for, like, you know, going to places and talking to people and like working with like certain kind of people where churches are not like, yeah, they're not like invited to that kind of club almost, because they are like marked as a church, as an organization. But because Surfing the Nations is a nonprofit, it's like opens up so many doors in that area, which is really cool. And so we train young people as well. We reach out to a lot of homeless people in our community and less fortunate. We have church, and then we have business, and it all works together to basically reach people and to minister to people and to the local community and to young people like me that flew in from Scandinavia, Europe, Canada, South America, wherever it is. And it's basically a Bible study a bit, but it's not a Bible study, but a Bible school. But it works in like crazy ways. It's like super cool. It's like I could not, like, I remember thinking about this when I was 15 years old. Like, I want this, this, and that. And I got, all of them got answered like in one place. And that's just like, I could not make this up. So, yeah.
Do you now work for them? Like
Yeah.
you're part
Yeah,
of it.
yeah.
So what is your role in this big picture?
Big picture, I do a lot of different things. I've done a few different things. I managed a coffee shop for a bit. I have been leading their and directing their media marketing department for 3 years. And then right now my position is, you wouldn't call it an HR, but you would kind of call it more in that area. Like, I basically make sure that staff and students, or mostly staff, are doing well. We plan events that are like prayer, worship, Sabbath days, like anything that is to do with people and their spirit and like their life, and like a lot of emotional stuff as well. But we basically plan a lot of majority of that for our staff that work like full time, that they are equipped and being led in a certain direction that we feel led to. So sometimes it's like talking to people, sometimes it's talking to staff members that are like, I have an issue, or just I see that you're here and I just want to talk to you, and you just end up talking about life and what they're doing and how they're doing. And we live in community living, and we live with the people that we serve. So it's like a lot of like heavy stuff that goes on, because you open the door and there's the person almost that you're serving today. Yeah. And you have to like live with a lot of pressure in some way. But it's like I've never seen God flow in that quick pace kind of flow ever. Like, it's like you just get filled constantly, but you also like constantly like giving out. So it's like a wonderful way of living if you can like, if you learn to like have God as your provider, and like, I'm gonna like, yeah, be dependent on God in this. But so I do that, and I also do tech stuff. So I oversee all the tech on the property. I used to do that. I can't do that now while I'm here. So somebody else is taking over that now. But yeah, that's kind of overall what I did. But then I also like, I've done so many things there. So like, I become like a bit of everything man. So they will call me for like, when you need like a hand to pick up donations at this old person's home, and we don't have that extra hand. Can you help us? Or we need an extra hand in the coffee shop. Can you come in and help us like figure out what is wrong? Or can you take a shift this afternoon? Or my computer is not working. Or you need to teach surfing this afternoon because one of our guys got sick. Or you need to go on this outreach, like into island, like where we go to another island and we hang out with our students for 10 days. And like, I go with them on a lot of those things because I have experience, but then also like I have a bit more free hands with it. Like I can I can jump around in it a lot. So I enjoy that. Yeah.
You mentioned outreach. How does that work?
Outreach as in like with the students or
So my understanding was that you guys create an event where you invite people to surf with you,
yeah.
and then is that
Yeah. It happens here and there. Like in Hawaii, it's very restricted because if you do a surf school, you have to have a permit.
okay?
Yeah. So
That's interesting.
they don't hand those out like left and right. But we take our students, we take them out and we teach them surfing. But mostly like when we go international, we do a lot of that. We like go to like different places and we like take people out surfing and we teach them how to surf. And most of it is to basically build relationship with them and of course teach them surfing, but most of it build a relationship and like eventually they end up asking like the like core questions of like why are you doing this, like what is this, and we can answer those kind of questions and we build relationships like that.
So what do you answer then?
Or we say we're Christians, or we say we just want to serve and we just want to give back, we just want to pour into your life, or we ask them questions of like what is your life like and what do you do, and we help them. Like in Bangladesh, I know it was like a lot of reaching out to like street kids that were just not in a good place, and we were able to like show them surfing and like this is a different lifestyle, this is a better lifestyle for you to like not be in drugs and like women and all that kind of stuff and get into like just a generational thing, but like here's a tool for you to like get out of that and a way to build relationship with other people and to like do something that is not going into like the rabbit, like the same like kind of circle of motion that all your granddads or parents did. In Hawaii, it's slightly different. It's more, for me, it's more ministry out in the water with uncles or people you meet out in the water or on the beach, and you talk to them and you see them like, oh yeah, you caught a good wave, and you go up and talk to them and you're like, wow, you caught a really good wave, and you start talking and you start talking about life. And I've had some of the most incredible conversations with people, with a guy that I hadn't even gone out in the water. He's just come in, and I could see first that he was like, he had a facade up and like was like just like a grumpy uncle. Like he just didn't want to talk. But I was like, I saw his board, I was like talking to him, like I was like, oh, that's a nice board, and he was like, oh yeah, this and that. And then I was like, you know, trying to ask him questions and how are the waves out there, and then he suddenly just started showing like a real like a rough side to him. He was complaining about like money and job and all that kind of stuff, and like I don't earn enough. He was a truck driver, and he was like, I can barely go by, and like traffic and housing and all that stuff. And like I just listened to him and just said, yeah, I'm sorry, like that's rough, and like just asking him questions, genuine questions. And at the end he was like, he had like put that whole facade down and was just like talking to me, and like I was his good friend, and he was giving me advice out in this place. It was like a very local place, and he was like, oh yeah, go there, like sit with these guys or do this and that. And I just like got to like be invited into it, and got to encourage him and just got to like speak into his life and just like say like, this is not too late for you to like go and do these things that you want to. And like he wanted to travel and do all these things, and I just like, it's like, for me, it's so much more about like meeting them where they're at than like, you know, teaching. For me, it's not too much teaching surfing. It's more just like talking to the people that are out there surfing. But it's all different styles. Like some people are like love and are like gifted in like teaching surfing and can teach young kids or like give advice to other people. Some people, like for me, I just love talking to people and actually hearing, this is where you're at. Like I met a guy he had 3-year open heart surgeries. And I've become his friend now. And it's just like amazing. Like this uncle that I would probably not talk to, but he's just become a friend, and he would recognize me and like just call me into waves and all that kind of stuff. And you just build a relationship with a stranger that like I know from like in Denmark, for example, like I have had a hard time just building a relationship with people I know, but like this guy is like a total stranger, and we're just like out surfing, and we just end up like creating a bond.
Would you say that that's a difference of the culture?
Maybe. I think American people are definitely more open than Danish people, but out in the water, it's maybe a different deal as well. But I don't know. I think there's maybe also something about it that when I lived in Denmark, I was in that part of my life where I maybe didn't have the confidence that I have now. I didn't have the like the what do you call it? Like the belief, like the conviction in my heart that this is what I believe, and I believe it so much that I am like willing to have a conversation. I don't feel like I can't do this. I can't do this. Like I just like I'm way more sure in my faith now than when I was like 10 years ago. And I think that's also one of the reasons why I'm like I've just had these crazy experiences in Hawaii, because I've grown into being the person that I am now, which has opened doors compared to here in Denmark. Like I've only been home for like 2 months, and I've had experiences, but nothing like I've had in Hawaii. But I also haven't been traveling too much, or been out surfing as much, or been out where people are like open for conversation. But I don't know.
It sounds amazing what you guys doing. We've been talking about for quite some time now doing something similar, but with football. With in America it's soccer, but here we call it football.
Yeah,
so I'm
football.
gonna
I understand,
refer
I
it to
understand.
football. But yeah, we've been talking about, because some time ago I have me and Rafa, we talked about just Rafa loves football. And I generally I played football because I had to in school, like on the gym lessons, or what do you call it, gym classes. And since I broke my toe by kicking one of my I kicked.
Wow.
I was trying to kick the ball, but my friend like pushed the ball away, and his foot landed there. And I kicked his ball, not his ball. I kicked his heel. Like I was aiming for the ball, he took the ball away, right? So I wasn't able to stop my foot because I was like full on already.
Yeah.
And I kicked his heel and I broke my toe. And that was, I think, the last time I played football.
How long was this ago?
I was like 17, 18, maybe at that time. And now
That's a long time ago then.
yeah, so I'm not like a lover of the sport. And yeah, the funny thing is my grandfather really wanted me to be a football player, because he was buying me some football shoes and stuff like that when I was growing up. Didn't happen.
Yeah.
No, but what I wanted to say is, like, yeah, I don't really care much about football, but I spoke to Rafa. Rafa was talking about, like, he loves football, and he was talking about that it would be really interesting to teach football, to have like time with guys, like some I don't know. So we were thinking, like, in a way how you guys do the surfing.
Yeah.
We were thinking about maybe going to some schools and making some kind of a program where we, I don't know, invite some guys. Hey, let's play football. Let's like, hey, we are bringing these guys from Brazil. So do some marketing.
The hype is real.
Why I'm saying that is because I'm imagining this happening in Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
And when you bring somebody from America or somebody more,
it's
like something exotic. If you bring something exotic to Eastern Europe, brother, I'm telling you, you are welcome everywhere. Like they will lead you, like they will basically introduce you to the president of the country. Like that's how
you can meet the queen.
Yeah. Like honestly, the doors are open. If you are something different, the doors are open. So I've been thinking in that direction. But yeah. So I mean, we haven't started yet. We're talking about it. We are in the process of figuring out actually how could this work. But I could imagine that would be something.
Yeah, big. What kind of age like do you guys want? Like similar age, or like younger? Like just
I think
like
younger,
adults?
like teenage.
Yeah, teenagers.
Kind of also young adults.
Yeah.
It's also a possibility.
Yeah.
And
It's
you
like-
can smoke them in the field.
And you can
still,
they can
like,
push you a
still have
little
the upper
bit,
hand,
and they
yeah,
go,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
No.
But it's very interesting, like to see that it's working with surfing.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
this is also
Yeah.
it's also huge. How to say? When you see something's working and you want to kind of do this in a different field, but
Yeah,
also
yeah.
get
Yeah.
it's very encouraged.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
the word I was
Yeah.
looking for. To
No. It's crazy. Like I think one of the difference between Hawaii surf and Danish surf is like you go to the beach in Denmark and you sit in the car with your buddy. I've experienced this many times. So I can imagine it just in my head, and you sitting in the car and you just see it. The wind, the coldness, everything that is just against you, and you basically have to hype each other up to go out, put your wetsuit on. You get your wetsuit on, and you maybe go into the car again to warm up again. And then you think to yourself, like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I going out in the water? Like, that's insane. Why wouldn't you want to go back home, be comfortable, and be warm? But I'll tell you, this is what it changes, because you surf in Hawaii and it's like, I want to get in the water. So like when you're comfortable and you hang out with people, for example, when it's all like, everybody's cozy, yes, you can become friends, but even more so when you are uncomfortable together. And that's what I see, like the uncomfortableness, like working out. Like imagine like training a team and you're all like kind of miserable together. You bond, like you become friends because you're going through the rough together, like in such a different way, and you get such real people. Like they're so much more honest. They don't have the filter on because they're like exhausted. They like been running all day or like doing all sorts of exercises, and it's like you reach people so much quicker. And that's what I felt like when people are tired and like worn out, they show them the real selves, like when they're just like worn out. So that's I think one of the reasons why I love it. And I think that's like soccer thing is like totally legit. Like that's where you can reach them, speak into their lives as well, and like see the ups and downs like day to day as well. But I'm not sure if like it would be like a team thing, like every Wednesday, or and then like what do you call it? Compete against other teams.
I don't know.
Could
I
be a
don't
fun
know.
thing.
In my head, I see this kind of scenario. We make some deals with churches, or specifically, we find a church in a city that we think that is good for, like they have a working and well-established youth group or something like that, where we would try to connect with those people.
Yeah.
And with them, with their help, we will try to agree with some schools of the area.
Yeah.
If we can come, we will be coming we are teaching English, so the lessons we speak English, so
Yeah.
that is already attractive thing for the schools,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we are bringing experience for the kids.
Yeah.
As a hey, you can
Education,
practice
yeah.
the language. Then we are coming with like football or whatever else it would be, but in this case, let's say we are coming with football. So we would try to talk to the school and say like, hey, pick, I don't know, 1 or 2 classes where you have the people that you want to invest this in, and then we just, let's say that we would spend with them like a week of training. So we would come every day for like 1 or 2 hours. We do some kind of a training, and then we start bonding and all that. And throughout that time, we are talking to the kids and also presenting like, hey, there is this Friday event that we are all gonna be there, just hanging out, eating pizza or something. And that would be together with the youth group, where also probably we would share the gospel and all that, because usually in Eastern Europe, as far as I know, the countries that I've been to doing something similar like this, you're not allowed to like present religion to the kids like that, because so and that's fine, but we would go there and like invite, hey, you wanna hang out with us more, come Friday evening,
Yeah.
we are hanging in this place.
Yeah.
And that is my thinking.
Yeah.
So yeah, and if anybody watching from Eastern Europe, or somebody that actually has an idea how to go further with it, or has some, I don't know, if people want to help, we would love to get further with this
Yeah.
idea. Eh?
We also talked about like different topics, not just football, but like maybe football can be one of the activities that we would like bring into the table.
Yeah.
We talked about like maybe entrepreneurship or like
Yeah.
Yeah.
marketing, or like also we
How to become a YouTuber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have the
Could be fun.
phone ringing constantly.
video production.
Yeah.
Like 'cause that's also some of the things that we do.
Oh, for sure.
Just like different things that like can be directly bringing value to teenagers. I think that's a huge thing in general.
Yeah.
Like to like all types of age, all types of background.
Yeah.
If you are able to bring value, like direct value to people, I think that's a special thing. In your case, you bring surf.
Yeah.
And that's a direct value, and you can bring Christ through that.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Which is very special. You also mentioned like some like behind the scenes you talked to me about, like some of the stuff that this organization has been invited to. Can you like go through some of those?
So with the nonprofit being like our like basically main face of like what we do and everything, or a lot of what we do, like we work together closely, like the church and Surfing the Nations. We have been invited to go to like North Korea to introduce surfing to like North Koreans basically. And that's like, as a church, you would not get invited to like, you would not get an opportunity to do that. I don't think so. Maybe you would, maybe. Yeah. But we got invited to do that. And that's like just a crazy, like open door where people are like, this is what people would pray for. This is what people would think like, this is like, how can I get invited to introduce surfing to North Koreans?
I love it. It's
like,
just
it's nuts. It's like, this is like out of like a movie. Like it's like out of those one like silly movies, like, oh yeah, anything can happen in this world. Like it's a cartoon. Like let's get invited to North Korea to introduce surfing. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
It's amazing.
But like some of those things, and like as well with like we haven't been invited by like or maybe we have. I actually don't know the like specific detail to it, but we've had held like surf competitions in Bangladesh, like surfing competitions with like official like government people like in that as well, like being like we are basically like hosting the whole competition.
Okay, so they would invite you, and you would
Like,
actually make the competition happen.
Yeah, low key. I'm not sure if it was us that was in. Like I think it became
That's
us invited
amazing.
later on because
That's amazing.
the government like basically saw money in it as well. But we just saw like this is a huge like ministry opportunity to basically pour into these young guys that we had known. Like I think they went there for like 10 years straight or something, where they like a 13-year-old guy. We meet him on the street, and he like turns 23 at the end of it, and it's like that person have had 10 years of like visits, like of like pouring into and introducing to like what are we about, like, and pouring into like these kids that don't have anybody around them to pour into them. They don't have a father figure that is like a righteous man or anything like that, or maybe they do, but like everybody is like, even like anybody who's raised up in a Christian family, I would want them to like have other people in their life that they can look up to, like other Christian like role models or something like that. Like just to have that in their life is just like crazy. And like we've gone to Sri Lanka as well, and we've gone to the Philippines, Bali, and like Egypt. I've gone to Egypt as well, and that's like same thing. These like when they were there first time, it was like these 13-year-old kids, boys that were like rowdy and everything, and 10 years later you suddenly see them like becoming these men, and they're basically introducing surfing to the next generation. And this is how you do surfing. Surfing is not supposed to be like a all about me sport, but this is about like community and about like you, like, so that's like, I've seen that like with the older guys, like there are like 22, 23, 24.
So they would become the father figures.
They would become like basically teaching the young kids. And that's basically what like a big piece of what we are part, like what we want to do. And that's like, I don't know anybody else that I don't know every organization as well in the world, but like I haven't seen it before. Like how do you, And then surfing as well. It's like it just drags people to it. Like,
Yeah.
like people want to talk about it. If there's a surfer in the room that nobody else surfers, it's like, oh, that's a surfer. That's like kind of rare. It's like it just drags people to it. Like, so I think it's just like like with the opportunities as well. It's like it's just amazing. Like it just combined to like you don't have to do much work. People just come sometimes, or like think like, or also just as a Westerner, like you just go into their place and like. You just surf like Bangladesh. Who goes to surf Bangladesh on a holiday? Like nobody. Like you go to Bali, Indonesia, or you go to Portugal, or you go to Hawaii, But you go to those places and people think like, oh, you're a bit crazy. Like I must talk to you because you're a bit crazy, But it works. It's crazy. So yeah, it's like a good way to like get in contact with people for sure. But yeah. Does that answer or maybe clarify like a bit of like what we
it's
do?
pretty
Invitation,
cool.
yeah.
It's really cool. Like it's really cool to see that like there are doors being opened in a way there's not that the traditional church
Yeah.
wouldn't see this door open.
Yeah. No, it's
yeah.
I think
I love it.
that's one of the reasons why like as well, like I felt like when I was 18, 19, I was like I had been introduced to like all this like the church stuff, but also like some radical stuff of like just going on the street and preaching. And I was like, I don't have a longing to like go on the street and start preaching or like asking people if I can pray for them if they're sick. Like I didn't have like a urgency to do that. I didn't have the heart, I think, at that point, even to like comprehend that this is like what God has also maybe called me to in some way. Like I think for me, it needed to be introduced in a different way of like I want you to go to these places in this way. Like it just became like super attractive, like for me in surfing. And there's something I forgot, lost the thread, but it was like, I think with the church, it was like, I didn't see my role could be fulfilled in the church that I was going to, but at STN, it was like, you fit in here. Like, this is what we need. And I felt like this is what I want to do. And I can't find many churches where I can do what I feel like I'm called to do. So it was like I feel like some churches maybe have all the puzzle pieces, also like all the roles in the church that is described in the Bible. Like you have all these different like people in the church. And there's some people who are maybe less of in church because they don't feel like they fit into traditional church as we see it. But I felt like here it was like, there's room. Like you can grow in this area here. There's an open door, go for it. Like it was not like, oh well, you have to do this, or that. It's like you have a unique calling on your life, or I don't know, just learning as well, just like helping people. Something as simple as like helping people who are in need. Like that, I think it was the beginning for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys through that organization, do you also do some kind of mentoring for like other people that want to do something similar?
Yeah,
Or,
well,
like, could there be an opportunity or possibility?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think we mostly do that in our internship program, or like when people get on staff. Like for you to fully understand how everything works, it's like working with us is like the best way to figure it out. It's like if you really want to like get nitty gritty with it and like figure out this is how you do it. Like you can learn all about coffee. You can watch all the James Hoffman videos you want to, but are you going to be able to make latte art?
You need to train, right?
You need to train. You need to be in it. You need to be like, doing it basically. So I think a lot of the mentoring we do is basically through the staff we have. But we also like, I don't at all like think, okay, I can't mentor you because like you're not a part of our program or organization. Like I've gone all over and I just love, honestly, I like, that's one of my biggest passions. It's like mentoring and discipling, especially young guys. It's like become like, I will look for them in like a room, like, and if it makes sense, like if it clicks, like I'm gonna go and like speak whatever life I can into it and being honest. Like young guys like that just need it like straight on, like no walking around eggshells here. So
do you guys also use different sports, or is it only surfing?
So we've gone to, was it last year, 2022? We went to Bulgaria and Turkey. And we went skiing and snowboarding But it depends. Like sometimes we have people who are passionate about snowboarding. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we had a guy
In the organization.
in the
or-
organization. Yeah.
Okay.
We had a guy who was super interested in soccer, and he was like on the same road as you guys. Like he was gonna do like a mission trip to South Africa, and doing like soccer stuff. But it's like if you have a person who's not passionate about snowboarding, we're not gonna force a snowboarding trip on like we're not going to do that. But if people are passionate about surfing, like then let's go. Or if people are passionate about snowboarding, we're going to go. So we started branding like bigger. Instead of just saying surfing, we're like action sports. So we changed like our mission statement to like being like action sport instead of surfing. So it's like any sport that we can do that brings people together. We just mainly use surfing because that's what we are. Like that's who we are. It's never going to leave us, I think. It's just part of our DNA. But I would love to see like snowboarding, skiing. We have a base in Sweden, and he does like ice fishing, and like ice fishing, you know, drilling a hole in the ground. And he's like educated as that.
Educated.
Yeah. In Sweden, it's kind of crazy. But he also does like, they do ice, like dog sledding up there. At times, so like when they have like programs going, they'll do like these like things that are like not snowboarding and skiing specifically, but it's like extreme, like cold and like kind of embracing that kind of thing, which is just like different. But it's like if you're passionate about it, like that's one of the things I love about my bosses. They are like, if they see your passion for it and see that you're willing to run with it and be committed to it, they'll release you into it. Like they're like, I see what you want to do. I don't want to like stop you from doing this. Like you have a fire inside of you. You have a passion for this. You're like maybe even called to this. We're going to open up doors. Like, again, if they see that they're committed to like actually doing this, then like open doors. And I think that's so sick. Like we've sent teams like to New Zealand. Like we have a team right now in New Zealand. It's like, what do they need help of in New Zealand? Like there's of course like unreached people there as well, but it's like, just because the people are like passionate about it and like, I want to go there, I feel called to go there. Like, okay, let's go. We've had people who are like interested in Iceland, and we've had people who are interested in like the most obscure places. And it's like, if you're passionate about it and if you feel like this is like a place that you can go, like there's a good chance that like during your work time as like a missionary, this is your job to go to this place that you feel called to and preach the gospel. And that's just like, that's just insane.
How does it work with the finances? Like, do you, as a missionary, need to actually get your own funding, or is okay? So that's how.
Yeah.
So the organization, are they able to help a bit with stuff like that?
They like we don't have to pay as much in housing, for example, but and like utilities and that kind of stuff. But other than that, it's like pretty like you have to fundraise, like you have to put in the work, and that's how the organization works. And some organizations works differently, and that's totally up to whatever organization, but that's how we work. And that's how like I wouldn't recommend anybody who's full-time volunteer in our organization to work a part-time job, like every week, like 10 hours a week to maintain their like financial status. Like I wouldn't, because it's going to be too much work in like the grand scheme of things. So, because the main thing we want you to be like focused on is basically like this ministry, like pouring into the people that you've been like delegated, or the job that you have. Like this is what we want you to put 100% into.
Do you have a good experience with fundraising?
You
know, like, because
oh gosh,
I don't know, because this is a big topic, especially in Denmark.
Yeah,
because it doesn't work here. At least that's my experience. Like people in here don't really.
They don't
do
believe in
that.
It.
It's kind of even considered weird. Like if you're asking for money.
Yeah, it is.
So what's your experience with
my
that?
experience is at first I wasn't too nervous about it when I went back and forth so many times, because I had this job that I worked back home in Denmark. Like crazy opportunity. God just gave me this job, and like it was like I was blessed, very blessed. I'm not at all like complaining about that. I was like very, very blessed. And it was money enough for me to travel back and forth until I then I didn't have to, but like I chose to commit full time to this organization. And people had already known me as like, okay, you're going back and forth to this place that you really love going to, and like you're doing some kind of ministry. So, and like I had a tight knit of guys in my church, in the open church in Hanning, and some of them were like willing to support me throughout
That's
the
amazing.
first like year, I think, year and a half, I think, and then slowly dwindling out, stopped paying, and kind of like, okay, what do I do? And then I got some other supporters here and there. I lost some more supporters, and like I think the first year was like pretty decent, and then year 2, 3, it was just like not great. Like I was not struggling. I did not have food on the table. I always had a place to sleep and all those kind of things, but there definitely wasn't a lot of money for like going out and just enjoying myself, or going traveling all the time, or like going on trips constantly. But I just told God, like, if this is what you want me to do, like, I don't understand why I should have this small amount of money. Like, I'm asking people, like, I'm writing to people, I'm calling people, like this is what I do. Do you want to be a part of this? Like, do you want to support me? Or like all those kind of things. I did those kind of things, and I just didn't get any answers, or like no's and all that kind of stuff. And I just like, God, like, I don't understand. Like, I really don't understand why you want me to have this small amount of money. And like, I can't just buy things. I can't go traveling. I can't go do all these things that I actually kind of want to. Like, that's at least how I remember thinking. And then suddenly, like, God just gave me the money. Like, I just had some key people like giving some big amounts, and it just like suddenly like turned. And I was just like able to like, and these are even Danish people, like some of them, which is like,
Wow.
okay,
That's
this
amazing.
is like, it's not that I was going to quit or anything like that, but it was still like, okay, God is in this. Like, even before, like, I knew God was in this, but like, okay, thank you. That is like, I'm very grateful for this. I'm like very like, it was like almost like, okay, I don't have to think too much about it. Like, I still have to fundraise and those kind of things, but fundraising is like, I've seen some miracles happen. I've seen like money coming in. Like, one time I had to go to the dentist and I had to get a root canal in the US as a non-US citizen.
Expensive.
Is that spicy?
Expensive.
Okay.
And a guy just like I talked to some people about it, and a guy just came up like, oh yeah, I feel led to give you $1,000 for this.
Hmm.
Like,
How much was the
I think the total, like if I did the whole the whole thing, it was gonna be like 3,200. But I think I didn't do the whole thing.
$3,200.
Ooh. Yeah. 3,200, yeah. 3,200. And like I only did, I think, half of it. So I got to do some things in Denmark, but it was like, I have so many friends that are like going on mission trips. Like, the people are going in New Zealand, like, prices to fly to New Zealand and prices to stay in New Zealand is expensive. And most of them like fundraise like 3,000 each, at least, in the span of like a month and a half. Just people giving them money. And it's like, okay, like, if you want to, and I was just reading this book, like, about David Wilkinson, about like him, like his experience of like buying property and stuff like that. And it's just like the first thing you do is like commit to it. Like, okay, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to believe for the money to come. And that's just like, I think that's one of the big reasons why God is also like taking me out of the US for a year. Is like, Daniel, do you trust me with finances fully? Do you like go to the place where you actually believe that I am going to provide for you, and like almost like step on the airplane before you bought the ticket kind of thing? Like, are you willing to go there? So like, fundraising is like a never ending thing, but like, it's a constant like blessing, and it's not a curse at all. It's like, it's such a blessing, honestly, because I don't have to rely on a job to get money. I don't have to think about my rent is due next week and like I can't pay for it because like God is providing. Like, I know that's how it works for every single Christian, but it's like, I'm free from like any, like, I can't work over and get more. I work like over and like I get the same amount. It's not like I can take another day work at my like at Surfing the Nations and get like extra money for it.
Yeah.
So it's like almost relieving in some way, but it's so strange, especially, but in Scandinavia especially, so many of the Swedes have such a hard time Like I'm one of the only Danes, and I know like people are just not wanting to even talk about it almost. But then I've also met, like when I was home here, I was at an old church that I used to go to a month ago or something, I think it was. And then I just met with this lady that my sister used to babysit her kids and nanny their kids for like years. So she knew who I was. Like she knew like kind of my backstory and everything. And she was like, heard about what I was doing. And she was like, we should fundraise for that. We should gather some money for you. And I was like,
Yes.
I did not know what to say. I was like almost making excuses for like, well, yeah, I could not, like, I was trying to make excuses legit for not getting the money. Cause I was like, you're not like, you're Danish. Like, this is not how it's supposed to roll. Like, you should know that like Danish people like don't like talking about money and that kind of stuff. Like, or majority, but like, I was just like, wow. I just felt like, and I remember driving in my car on the way over there, in my dad's car, and I just had like this heartfelt moment of like prayer of like, I just really want to feel love today. I just want to be met by like a deep, like, I see you, like I see who you are and I see your needs. I just like, I prayed that in the car with like almost tears in my eyes. Like I was just kind of like, I'm just ready for something, God. And he just like blessed me with all these people. Like, and I was just like, okay, I don't like, you hear me still. Like, even when I'm like at home in Denmark and not doing my day-to-day normal thing. So yeah, it's crazy, but
That's crazy.
yeah.
What do you think is behind that culture? Like of people not really wanting to even
Wanting to
talk
give?
about money.
I don't know. I think the first thing that comes to my mind is the system of how people have their relationship with money. Like
Can
Danish
you-
people, their relationship with money. I'm not sure how it is like in Brazil or Slovakia. Yeah.
Slovakia,
Where you're from, it's like the system is going to help you no matter what almost.
So then they are not willing to help because they know that the system is gonna help.
Yeah,
Is
like
that-
in some way, I think it's like every man up for himself, except for the system is also going to help. But like, I think it's like, but also like, this is a big thing, like Hawaii. Like I'm not complaining about living in Hawaii at all, but people say this is really tough for you living in Hawaii. Like that's rough for you to be a missionary in Hawaii. Almost like in some way, like they say jokingly, like, oh, it's so rough. And it's like, who wants to give to a missionary who lives in Hawaii?
because
know?
it's already so nice.
It's so nice and it's so
Okay,
like, you know,
that's
you
the-
live on the
that's the
beach
mindset.
basically and you like, but it's not the case. But it's like, I think most people just like don't think like they don't, yeah, I don't know. People are willing to like support other things like Red Cross and all sorts of things, which is all good. I think it's just, I think that's one part of it. But then I also think like money is such a, they want an outcome of it. It's more like one big lesson I've learned is like giving is not giving and then receiving something back. If you love somebody, then you should know that like you loving them should not, like you should be okay with not producing any fruit in return, like not even seeing whatever happens afterwards. Like you should be okay with that, because otherwise it's not giving of like you're not giving freely. You're giving with like a quenched hand. Like you're like here, but on conditions. That's not giving freely. So that's like, I think also like a lot of Danish people are like, I'm not sure if this is true, but like, I think a lot of people want to see something like they also want to be smart, of course. If you feel led though, like give. But if it's like I need to see the results, then it can be like giving freely, but it's also like, of course, like they want to be smart about the money. They don't want to just give the money to somebody who's just going to spend it on
Of course. Yeah.
whatever. So I have to basically sell myself in my case and like, I'm a missionary. This is what I do. This is how I do it. This is how I get around it. And if they think that's good enough, then they'll maybe give. If they don't think it's good enough, then they won't give, or they won't even talk to me about it when I open up about it. So yeah, I don't know. I've had many unopened or unanswered messages that are just like gone nowhere.
Yeah, to be honest, I have one message waiting for answer. Like
Yeah.
somebody asked me and I haven't answered yet.
But that's honestly like getting a no, just like being plainly honest, like just saying like, no, I don't want to.
Is that better?
That's
Or-
better.
That's better.
Yeah.
All right, then I will answer.
Yeah. Because if you say like, I don't have money for it right now, it's like, okay, there's still hope. It's like holding a girl off. It's like saying, oh, right now it's not the season. Like, let me just work on myself a bit more. I just need to be single for a season. It's like, oh, later, like soon, like I'll just wait here. And it's like, just this person is just in hope that they'll like come back. Now I'm ready. Now I'll give you.
All right, I see.
Or now
I
I'll
see.
return to you and we can be like together.
Man, I saw a really funny video of like this guy was like buying something, and then the machine was like asking like, do you want to donate $1 to save a child? And then yes or no. It's like you just click on no.
Yeah.
And then there's a follow-up question. Do you want a kid to die? Like, so it's like you kept pushing him. Like,
God. That's terrible.
you should try that strategy.
No, not yet. I can ask them if they want to have me like become poor and live on the street. And no, but that's the hard thing about these things, because it's like fundraising is sometimes like God, like work with this. Like I need help in this area. Like I don't know how to ask this like Danish person, because they already think that this is wrong. Like how can I rightfully go up there and ask them? In what way can I approach this person in like a respectful way? I'm not just saying I don't care about you. I just want your money. And that's like, you know, I have to develop like a relationship to them almost.
Yeah.
But it's like, then they also think like, I imagine they think like, he just wants my money. Like he's just out for my money. This like, and it's just like, how do you do that? And like, so it's like a weird thing. Like you can't put like the whole thing on the guilt card either. You can't say like, I work with kids whose parents will neglect them for days and do drugs and sell drugs, and they get into like dealing drugs when they're like 10, 11 years old, and they overdose when they're like 14. And like we have all these homeless people. I can't just like keep drilling on all of that, like and put just to their guilt card. But it's like, are you passionate about this? Like, okay, you have to present it in some way. And it's like, how do you balance that? And that's like probably one of the most difficult things in it.
But I feel like what the motivation factor that, you know, I don't know if you call him your boss or like the guy who's leading the organization has for people who wants to lead stuff. When they see the passion, it's like, okay, I see your passion. We're probably gonna find ways to open a door for that to happen.
Yeah.
I feel like if you are able to communicate your passion, I mean the why.
Yeah.
I think that's very important. You know, rather than just ask for money.
Yeah.
I feel like organizations of this type would have a much better success if they were able to communicate their passion, not just the what. It's like, hey, we are saving kids in Africa.
Yeah.
This is the what, you know, but actually, like, we believe in a fair world, and we are pushing forward the boundaries of what we can do as a society to help people, you know. That is there's a much stronger motivation than to just show like people in hunger, you know. It's like, we believe that this is something that we should
work towards.
Do you want to be part of it? This is like at the end, you know. But often what we do, and I make the same mistake, you know, of asking like, do you want to be part of this? Like, as the first question, you know, rather than this should be like, most of the time, like actually for this type of thing to, when you know you communicated well, you don't even need to ask at the end. They're like, they're like, how can I be part of this? They're basically the ones asking the question, how can I support? How can I
be a part of it?
Be a part of it.
Yeah. What are you talking about?
I was just thinking, like, this is basically the whole like marketing / sales.
Exactly.
Like, it's exactly the same pitch. Like, you don't want to seem like you want to sell anything, but you just want to hype the situation so much that they're like, take my money. Yeah.
But recently, like, me and Rafa went to Sweden, and we actually had this talk with a guy from like church in the middle of nowhere in Sweden. And right, but it is.
Shopping? What?
You shopping?
You shopping?
Yeah, I think it is.
Shopping? Oh.
Yeah, mid of nowhere in Sweden, basically.
Sorry to those people that live there.
Let me see how many Swedish
like,
people are
we
watching.
had such an interesting conversation about that, about the fact like the churches and ministry, they rely so much on giving, basically, like people being charitable, so they can sustain the operations, you know. So if you need to buy a building, or if you need to restore a building, or if you need to have money for this, or like start projects and things like that, then you need to like, hey guys, please give more, you know. So that's basically the gigs of it. And like a lot of the time, the people who are giving, who are passionate enough to give, are the people already working for the ministry or for the church, you know. So like, not only you ask them to put their blood, sweat, and tears into it, we also them to. They're probably also the people who are actually gonna support you financially as well, you know. And this is a very, you would not see like going to a business class to saying, hey, this is how you should run your business. You should find passionate people that want to work for free to you, and then ask them for money. You know, like if business were run like this, they wouldn't be very very long in business. You know, so and then we had like this very interesting talk about like how like that there's a church in the area that was doing the other way around. They were actually investing in entrepreneurship and using the money that that the business were generating into like to invest in the church. So they would open like gyms, you know. And what was the name of the gym? Like something.
Samsung.
So they had like a gym called Samsung. So they were like, and then they had like a gym pastor. So a guy who like a guy who would run the gym. And it's like it's just generating money, you know. And part of that money, that the part of the profits was used to run the church.
Was the church the owner of the?
Yeah, the church was the owner of the
Perfect.
business.
Yes, let's go.
And they also had like some like they were doing Airbnb, like they bought some state.
Yeah.
And
That's
so
very
like
good.
the church was owning stuff, the church was like running businesses, and they were like they are basically being able to invest in the ministry through entrepreneurship, you know. And I think that's a really good solution. And of course, you know, you can still give space for people to give, because I think generosity is something that we should always have active in our lives, you know. So they did give the space for that as well, but it's not their bread and butter anymore, you know.
Let's go.
And this is man, we were like, okay, this is like a really great way to do it, you know.
Yeah.
Because then you are able to pay your staff, you are able to invest in projects, you are able to do so much more for the kingdom of God when you have these structures in places, you know. Yeah, that's my 2 cents on it, you know.
That's really good. But I know that behind Open Church Copenhagen, I know that they want to do stuff like that, but it takes so much energy. Also, just imagine you as a pastor, you're freaking trying to run the church, and then like to start up a business on a side of doing running the
Church.
full-time.
Gosh.
Oh man, like the start is tough. The start is tough for sure. But I mean it's a really good way of doing it. Like maybe we should pitch some projects to Thomas.
I would hope we can get to that point where, you know, the things we start and start like generating income enough for us to invest in ministry in a way, you know. That would be super cool.
I mean, that's the goal, right?
Yeah, this is also one of the talks that we had, right? Like to invest in people that go out, like your friend also in Slovakia, people that are living, you know, in ministry and working day and night, you know, and don't have sometimes enough to, you know, live a decent life or something that you wish, because he's so much.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Bro, I have a friend, he's working full-time in a ministry as like there's this kind of ranch in Slovakia, and he's like a full-time kind of a janitor, I think I would call it. Dude, like they are often running out of money, and like he's faithfully serving, and like for people that like if you're on a stage, then at least you have the opportunity to talk to many people about like this is how I serve. We are going there and there. But there's this janitor guy that nobody almost ever sees. He's like, of course the ministry does pay him what they can afford.
Yeah.
But like he told me many times, like when he's talking to the boss, sometimes the boss of that ministry, like he's crying because like I don't know where to get the money. Like I don't know how to, so it's tough. So like that would be one of the things that like I would dream to do, to build businesses, to be able to support, especially people that are unseen in ministry, like and what he told me once, like if they ask money for some kind of a project, like, hey, let's build this to make this ministry better, people tend to say, yes, let's go. But if they say, we want to take our staff, we want to pay our staff more, or we want to give our staff a trip somewhere so they can rest a bit, like people don't really want to support that stuff, because then they don't see that goal, as you said about that hand, that it's not giving like freely, but like kind of, so that's my experience.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing in like missions and those kind of things, like ministry, like even pastors like don't have too much rest or opportunities for rest, or like proper rest. There's not an extra salary for like, but then again, I've gone places where people pay like 2 years of work extra, like spare money, to go to some of these places through ministry.
Yeah.
And I gotten to go to some like amazing places, but it's like to explain to your supporters, like, can you give me extra money so I can go on a vacation? No, like will you give me money to like go on a missions trip to this place? Yeah, I'll give you money to go. But it's like, I think rest has become such a different thing for me. Like as like a friend in Slovakia, but like doing those kind of things, like rest is just like turned upside down for me. Like going on a vacation is just so different now. Like I don't think I can just go to a hotel and sit at the pool for like a week and a half. No, like I don't function that way. Like I can't. No, like I don't know why, but it's just like it's not ingrained in me in that way. But I love seeing the world that I do now. Like the way that I do is like traveling, seeing people where they're at, going to churches, getting to know local people, and like going to coffee shops and talking to the baristas and like talking to uncles out in the water, and like you just see the world so differently. But that's become like some kind of rest for me sometimes. But then sometimes as well, like I wish I could just like, go out on a summer house on the west coast of Denmark and just sit alone in solitude for like a week and just not do anything. But I don't know, rest is that's a fun topic. That's like an interesting topic in ministry, because so many people don't know how to do it. So many people complain about burnout, which is in our organization a big no-no, because we believe that it's people basically not doing what God has called them to do. It's like, I'm calling you to rest now. Like rest now. If God is calling you to do that, and like so many people like think like I can't be resting now. Like I gotta do stuff, or like don't hear that voice, or don't know how to rest properly. Like they don't know how to take care of like their body and soul in that way. But like I've seen over and over again, like I've come to the end of myself, and I've just like said, like, God, you're my provider, with rest, with energy, with all those kind of things. Like I believe you'll provide for me even now, like in like unrest, like help me figure out how to do this. Like I can't go further.
Well, wouldn't you say like that a lot of like burnout happens with when you feel stuck in the situation? That's actually where you feel burned out. It's not really like a lot about what you're doing, but mostly about like what your space of mind when you're doing those things.
And your relationship with God, I would say, like
right,
if you're,
exactly,
because so many people get too busy and then they end up not spending time with God because they don't have time. But the most important thing is like you're like relationship with God. That's like the one that should have the number one spot on your, like, in your life is like God. And like, is your ministry your first place, or like what you do for like your church congregation? No, like, and I think that's where like I've seen, I think that's how I've seen a lot of people miss the mark of like, they stopped spending time with God, stopped reading the Bible, stopped praying, and just sitting down with God because they want to have a relationship with God. That's like a lot of times, like, or like they're stuck in some way. Like it's, yeah, I've seen a lot of that happen, and it's
Because if you have that in place, you know, like God is first and everything else is second.
yeah,
Even if you're like, you know, thrown in a hole in prison, whatever,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
you're not gonna feel stuck.
No,
you
no.
know, like if you have God there with you,
Yeah.
you're gonna feel like you're the most free person ever.
Yeah,
you know. So how come, you know, like people who are, in this example, surfing
Mm-hmm.
could feel burned out? It must be because of a lack of priority, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Because often when you don't have God first, you feel like you just thrown into situations that you don't
Yeah.
have a choice, that you like,
Yeah.
that you how come you could do anything else, you know, that you gotta do this, otherwise these other things are gonna happen, so you
Yeah, yeah.
basically feel pushed to do certain things, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So it doesn't come from a place like, God is my Lord,
Mm-hmm.
Jesus is with me, and I'm choosing to do this.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, I think if you take ownership of your faith like that,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like, I'm gonna serve God,
Yeah.
that gives you like, it's so freeing in a way,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because you are actually taking the step. Okay, I'm here because I want to,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I'm here because God wants to.
Yeah, yeah.
So if someone comes and tells you something or this and that, you know, you don't get so caught up.
No, no. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you consider, like, out of my own experience, you know, about burnouts, you might be in a right area, but not in exact, like, the right position. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's say you like cameras, but you are doing, you know, like, you are handling the cameras, but you are maybe doing more, like, kind of like a manager position where you are not supposed to, when you actually like gear more than you like people, but you are actually managing people but not managing gear, you know, like, because what I'm trying to say is that sometimes we know what we kind of know what we like. We know that, oh, this is my passion, right? And then we are there and we are finding ourselves like burning slowly out. And then you are even questioning, like, is this even my passion, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
But it's just because the niche of that passion is maybe not what you are doing. Like the
I like, I totally see what you're saying, but wouldn't you feel like, okay, I'm just gonna phrase it differently. Wouldn't you feel like how, like, you as, like, let's say you have the power to give people certain positions, you know, how would you know, okay, this person's burned out here, this person will get burned out here, or this person should not be on this position, they should be here instead? Like, how can you manage people like that? If we're able to put people in places, you know, wouldn't you like try to put people like in the place that they are the most valuable, or the most, feel like the most free and feel the most empowered every single time?
I think in my head, in my heart, I would love to put those people in the position, but sometimes stuff just needs to get done. And then like, yo, please, could I ask you, do this? And if that goes for a really long time, you know, because
Right.
like we don't have unlimited resources.
Because I think there's no churches or no ministry, like even organization, business, that they would like, that have their desire and that people would burn out
No,
doing
absolutely
the
no,
operations, you know.
absolutely not.
I don't think that's the case. I think people, they should take responsibility into like okay, this is not being healthy for me. This is not going to be healthy for me long term, or like you should know your limits in a way, or you should learn to find out your limits, or find out the framework that fits with you in a way, you know.
Yeah.
Otherwise, how would I know what
Yeah.
your limit is? You
Yeah.
know.
You can't know that. That's like, yeah. Like for a leader, you can't know where like you can maybe see if the person is like crying, but a crying can also just be like, I'm just emotional right now. And like for some people, like they cry often. And like other people, like if you see a guy down crying, I'm like, okay, something is up here. But like you don't know really. Like, and like I think that's like what you have to be owning up to where you're at as well, and be honest. Like this is your relationship with God, where you're at with him. Like, can you be honest with him and you and then the other person? If you can't do that, then you're basically putting yourself in a bad position. You're putting your boss in a bad position. You're like, I think especially with the passion, like your passion for this, like, or your relationship to this passion is ruined because you've had a bad experience. Like even maybe traumatic in some way with like burning out, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think like a lot of things we try to incorporate is like, we want to have people be honest and be like communicate. Like, please communicate if you feel like you can't handle
Okay,
this.
I
Like,
think this is how you as a organization, as a church, as a ministry can actually help, is to make a coach, or to create a culture where people can communicate.
yeah.
People feel open and free to communicate
Yeah.
their joys and to celebrate the victories, but also their challenges and frustrations. You know,
Yeah.
if you are able to create like a culture where people are able to communicate their frustrations in a healthy way, man, that's a really great culture to be part of.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
where it's not like complaining, like where people are just not complaining about stuff,
Yeah.
but where people feel safe enough to share their frustrations. You know.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But and generally you see that in business, that like people would have kind of like a, okay, I don't know if it goes every business, but I mean what I've heard in the books and what I experienced in some of the work that I had would be that you have this person, like a contact person that you would talk to on let's say even regular basis, like how it's going, how you're doing, do you take enough of rest, like, and all those kind of things. And I think also churches are trying to do that. But there's one more question from me. What if you just don't want to disappoint your leader, you know, because then you know that the leader doesn't have anybody else to handle this. And you don't want to put the leader into a bad position, because then the job is not going to be done. So you just keep your mouth closed. And
I've had experiences with this.
all right.
So I think there's multiple parts to it, but I see it a bit as like some things are just for a time. Like for example, like the open church have, like in Copenhagen, has been jumping around from place to place for like in the beginning, like maybe like a few places. Like, is that correct?
Yeah, let's say we are in the third place.
Third place. So like you don't stay in one place.
No.
Like, and you shouldn't like try to like, God, this is all and be all. Like, this is the only thing. Like, this is how it's supposed to run. Like, I think that's one part of it. It's like, okay, acknowledging, okay, there's maybe something new. Like, if God is like pulling me in this direction, like there gotta be something about it. Like trusting him that there is something more. Like he is the almighty, all powerful. Like he knows everything. Then there's the other part I've seen happen in our organization during COVID. We had some people leave, and most of those people were worship people. So like that group that left were like all the worship people basically. So like we had no worship people. We had nobody who had like led worship that was on staff, that was left behind, or not left behind, but like left there.
Yeah.
So like somebody like, and these people were like great worship leaders, like really like amazing, and were just like so gifted. And like, of course, like the thing you think is like, wow, now what are we gonna do? Like, is this just gonna be bad worship for until we get another person? Like, is not bad worship, but like musically, like, is it gonna be like dragged out and like off key and like off beat and all those kind of things? But like, we had a few guys that were already part of staff take the charge and actually go for it. And they, like, in my opinion, like ended up like, I would say surpassing like in skill and like passion for worship than the people in the past. So it's like, we didn't like think that, oh yeah, this person can take over. No, this person like voluntarily said like they saw another person or other people like kind of like doing it, and he was like, I want to go for it. And like, amazing, honestly. Like, and that's like, I think sometimes people need to step down or need to like say like, like, if God is calling you somewhere else, and I don't think everything is just going to work smoothly for you every single step of the way in the work that you're not supposed to do. Like, God will like share in some way, like, I don't know, maybe it's not going to happen anything bad, but like, I think if God is calling you somewhere else, that's where you're supposed to be and not there. And I think God has that in his hands. Like, I will provide for you. Like, I will provide another person, even though you maybe don't see it. You have no clue. You have asked around already. There's nobody here to fulfill your role in the church. God still has somebody if he's like meant for there to be a person. So it's like, I think it's more like we're scared as people to sometimes like say like, what am I going to do? I don't want to be here. I don't feel like I'm supposed to be here, but if I quit, my boss will be mad and disappointed in me, and the whole company could be in jeopardy. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just suffer through it, and nobody's going to come out on the good side. That's how I had it with my old job, like back home, the job that I'm actually working now. I just like felt so bad that I had this urgency to go to Hawaii. I was like, how am I going to share with my boss that I want to go to Hawaii in like a couple of weeks? And I know the amount of work we have. I know where he's at, like low key. And I just couldn't let that feeling go. Like, Daniel, go. I'm like, well, the work, my job, my boss, my like all those things, like what, like go. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go and ask him, just see what happens. And he's like, I go up to him and like, boss, like, can I get off work for a month? Like, I know this is like kind of late and everything. He's like, oh shoot, yeah, like let's look at it and see. And I was like, what? Like, you're not like mad or anything? Like, you're not disappointed in me? Like, but he was like, Daniel, like later on, he was like, if you want to go travel, this is the time. Like, but still, like every time I had to say like, I want to go. When I said like I want to go for 4 months, probably have to replace me. It was like, how am I going to say that I want to quit for good? Because I'm not sure if I'm coming back. Like, how I'm going to say to my boss that has like blessed me with so many things and like have taken me surfing, all these things, like how I'm going to disappoint him in saying like, I want to leave and to go do something else. Like, I just, like, so much had to stir up in me to like finally like, okay, God is speaking. I have to act. Boom. There it is. Nothing else. It was like, for me, it was like so clear, but it was like, it was difficult. It was like, I was scared of disappointing my boss, but I had to. I didn't have to, but I chose to, because I couldn't live with myself if I didn't almost.
How did he react?
He was like, I think a bit like when I quit that half year, it was like, it was a bit like, okay, how do we figure out what you do? And like, how do we find somebody else? And like, it was like a bit of work, but it was like, he wasn't mad at all. Like, notice, like I'm not sure if he was disappointed or not, but like, it doesn't matter. But like, it was like nothing bad towards me. Like, it's just like, okay, we're going to figure this out. Like, so blessed, like, so like happy and fortunate. And it's like taught me such a lesson. Like, Daniel, like sometimes you work things up in your head. You start dreaming, you start fantasizing like, gosh, if I say this to this person, if I'm honest with them, they're going to hate me forever. Like, they're just going to think bad things of me. Our relationship is broken, all those kind of things. But like, oftentimes people think better of you than you make up in your own mind. That's how I had to speak to myself and say like, Daniel, people want better for you than you think, than you believe. So it's like, so blessed. And if like I was in it, and I was like, okay, what can go wrong? I'd rather go do what God has called me to than live in pity for and bitterness, not doing what I felt called to do for maybe the rest of my life. So I think that sometimes people don't want to give up what they have. They think that this is like the end it all, be it all, like in some way, and they like are scared of change maybe as well. Like even in church, serving in church, if you served in church for like 10, 15 years, it's like, God is calling me somewhere else. How can he be doing that? This is my church. Well, go if he calls you. Like if you're a pastor, like somebody else is going to start pastoring these people. If you're ministering to this person, you feel like God is saying like it's time to like let this person go, or like discipling this person. Like it's time to like move on, believe, or like if there's nothing more to it, then there's nothing more to it. You just have to have faith and sometimes be a bit like, okay, I'm not supposed to care, so I'm just gonna stop caring. And that's how you have to do it. And you just have to be brutal and cut off the line, like shook. That's how it is.
That's tough.
Yeah, it is tough, but it's so needed. Otherwise, you're gonna get caught up in so many things that you're not supposed to do. And I think that's pretty sad, because we don't need more people who are caught up and stuck and like don't dare to take a risk. We need more people who are like willing to take risk and like up for like, I'm gonna go where nobody sees this makes sense. I don't see it makes sense. I only do it because I believe God is speaking to me right now. And that's like, otherwise the world would be just like tuk, 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 a little box, and that would be it, kind of. That's how I see it, at least. Like you'd have your whole life predicted, as we talked about earlier, like the Danish kind of like, you have your whole life lined out and then you just go for it. It's more about the timing, like when are you going to get married? When are you going to get that house with the job, and then kids, and then grandkids, and then
funeral.
Yeah.
Man, it's like there was a time like we sat the three of us and watched the video maybe last week about, and it was like a very business guided, and there was like a sentence that stuck to me. It was like, if you are, how to say, like if you are doing something, because like there's if you're doing something good in the business, but if someone else could do that, then you're losing money. Because you are doing something, you are not doing something that no one else could do, that only you can do. But you're compromising doing that for the sake of doing something good in front of you. And I feel like this can translate in the life of faith, in terms of like, if you are spending time doing something good at the expense of doing something that only you can do, then you're losing time. Because you're doing something that no one else could do. Because you're doing something that someone else could do at the expense of not doing something that only you can do. And there are some things that God calls us into that only we can be in that place, because God wants to use us specifically. No one else, just us. And to do something else that is good at the expense of that, is you're just losing time.
I think I gotta think of the book. I haven't read the book, but the title always sticks with me, like Good to Great. It's like so many people do good, like decent things, and it's not bad, but it's like God has called us to do great things. But we stay in there. And the other thing I think of is like the pride of like, this is my job. Like sometimes you think like, this is like, I'm the only person that can do this job. Nobody's going to take over and do greater. Like, heck no. Like I would rather see this position go out of like, no more than like, sometimes I like prideful people, we all like deal with it, that like deal with that kind of stuff. Like it's like when I had to give up a position in my, like as Surfing the Nation, it's like I was media marketing. It's probably even more difficult when I was manager in the Service Coffee. It was like, I'm the manager and soon I'm not going to be the manager anymore. It was like, who's going to fulfill my shoes? And like it was like, I had to like, Daniel, just die to yourself. Stop whatever thinking you're doing. Like, just let it go. This is not that big of a deal. You have to stop being prideful. of thinking that you're the only one that can do this and that, and like if it's not run the same way, it's gonna ruin the whole thing. But it's like, no, stop, just chill, just let God do His work, and He'll, yeah, I don't know. I think that's a lot of times. Sometimes people don't want to stop because they think they're supposed to do it, or they don't want other people to do it. But yeah, I don't know. It's that's the ego. That's the flesh you have to fight with in ministry as well. You have to die to it, and that's everybody falls into that. Yeah, it just looks different for every person.
Yeah, and I remember talking to you like just recently about this, the fact that like being able to switch heads.
Oh yeah.
It's such a great thing, you know. But something that can be on the way is actually our own egos in a way.
Yeah.
You know? 'Cause if you have the head of manager,
Yeah.
then it's kind of hard to have the head of like
Just a barista.
just a barista. Yeah, exactly.
The water guy,
Yeah,
coffee guy.
Yeah. Bringing out the orders, calling people up.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you just like have this hat on, like I am a child of God, then all these other hats can go in and out, you know, and then you don't feel like your identity is being challenged.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy, but I was reminded about this story my boss used to tell me of. Like, he was on a mission trip in Indonesia, and he had this guy. If you guys know Lauren Cunningham,
I've heard the name.
YWAM's leader. Like, he was like the one that started YWAM. He's like this big guy, but it's like basically a story of like my boss was like almost trying to have him like, what should I do now, Lauren? Because like I'm leading this trip, but like Lauren was just a guest, and he was like, well, you do whatever you want to do. Like, just because he's like led so many trips and is like a big name, sometimes we think that like that we are not allowed to step into that as well, even though there's greater people. I was thinking like if the greatest podcaster came in here and like, or like the best like cinematographer came in and like wanted to see you shoot, you'd be like, here, take the camera, do you, and you like, no, like you're supposed to, like God has put you in this position for you to lead it. Doesn't matter who you have in your group. Like, I think sometimes, probably more often, oh gosh, that we don't step up to the challenge that God has given us because we don't allow ourselves to think that God is with us. We believe that somebody else can step up to the plate. I am not good enough. I don't have what it takes. Pastor this or pastor that is way better than me to do this. But we are saying like, basically saying like, God is not able to work through me. I don't believe God is mighty enough to do the work through me. I don't have faith enough that God can do this through me. And I think that's sometimes like the pride that comes into us, I don't know, maybe not pride is the right word, but it's like almost that like personal battle. Like I'm just not going to do it.
It's kind of low autism.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Like kind of Moses have the conversation.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm not the one. Pick someone else.
But he totally could have.
Yeah.
You know, God can work through it.
But I want to use you.
Yeah. And I think like sometimes it all becomes like a big mumble of things. I think of it as like whenever, imagine you're in a church and they like really need this person, but nobody's stepping up. They really need like a person to step up in this area, but nobody's stepping up. And it's like, well, sometimes it's also people who like are not just prideful and don't want to step down, but sometimes there's also people who don't like maybe step up in some way where it's like they just don't think that they can do it. They just end up being like some mushy old men that just sit there and like, I'm not going to do anything because, you know, I'm not good enough and I don't want to step on anybody's toes. And they just end up doing nothing.
Yeah, but you know, God is so gracious. He's he actually like God like actually did a compromise with Moses. He's like, okay, fine, like your cousin's gonna go with you. It was his cousin, right? Not his no, his brother-in-law, wasn't it? Yeah, his brother-in-law. So it's like it's kind of like, dang, you know, we in certain ways we look down to ourselves, but you know, doing things with God, you know, we of course we need to rely on His strength and all that. But even in our weaknesses, He's like, okay, fine, like I will
I
work
got
with you.
you.
Like there
Yeah.
is a place where we, you know, God works together with us.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it's not just like, okay, God has a goal and He wants things to be done, but we also have a like some type of a saying in it.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
like
yeah.
God, I can't. Like, it's like, okay, fine, I'll work with
Yeah,
you in
yeah.
this way. You know, and I think it's a beautiful thing. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
that God, He's not a tyrant. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
He's the perfect leader.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
So true.
yeah. And also, like, while in this topic, there was many times where I felt like stressed and anxious, and the feeling of like that I'm trying to fit on bigger shoes, you know.
Hmm.
But after a while, that feeling disappeared,
Yeah, yeah.
and suddenly I'm able to put those shoes on, you
Yeah.
know. So I feel like when you are in that position, in that position of challenge, you know, in that position of like, dang, how am I going to figure things out?
Yeah.
This is actually the right position for you to be at that moment,
Yeah.
so you can grow,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, you have to be like, I feel like you grow when you are challenged. You grow
Mm-hmm.
when you're like in hardships and that. I also something like I was thinking about our organization as well. It's like what I love about it is like we say it's like, you know, that's like the joke, like it's a safe space you can share, like just be open, like it's a safe space, but like will you legit like open up, like we want you to try and lead, or lead, even though you don't maybe know exactly fully how your style is, like how you do things, but like this is the time and place to do it now. We'll give you feedback, we'll be behind your back, and we'll be supporting you. And it's such an important thing of like, it's not just God who's like, you know, making compromises, but it's like, okay, it's okay to make mistakes as well. And that's something I love about like the organization I work with is like, we have a 3-month leadership program where we go international, and every student leads a day or two. They lead like an outreach day. They go like somewhere they haven't been before, and they talk to people they haven't met before, but have to get in contact with, like where they're sleeping, where they're eating, what are they doing along the day, and they have to lead the whole group, and they've never done this before maybe. And then at the end of the day, we give feedback and we say like, this is like how we can, or you can do it differently. And you like, they're basically like supporting them, and like, this is how you develop into like the leader that you've been created to be. But it's like through failure. It's like the same with surfing. Like it's like, you don't go out there and just score your like best wave the first wave you're gonna get. Not even the 10th wave. Like yes, it's gonna be the best one you've had yet, but 10 years down the road, you're gonna get a much better wave. But it's like through failing, you fall, you slip, you wipe out, you get dunked on, you get slammed, you get stink eyes, you get all the things, and you like develop through the hardships and the hard stuff basically. And that's what I love about like kind of this growing thing in you, that is like, it's the hard things that oftentimes like you have to be able to fail almost. And I don't know, I've never been like in leadership in like churches in Denmark or anything like that, but I'm not sure where they're at with this kind of stuff. But it's like, it's so valuable to be mentored, to be discipled by
Mm-hmm.
people who are like, have gone through this already.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think that's actually what I missed the most when I was a kid. Like somebody who's like being able to like share with me, like, Daniel, like maybe do this instead, or like somebody to just spar with and talk with about that kind of stuff, like failures and like not being willing to fail. So you fail all over, like because you don't even dare to step out in faith. But yeah, it's something I'm very fortunate about, especially being out in Hawaii. But
Yeah, I remember like being like 17, 18, and like looking up to like some of my friends who were like 23 and stuff like that. And I remember that time I went and did a lot of like, you know, bad stuff, you know, because I looked up to them, you know, and I wanted to be like them, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember like after deciding to start following Jesus, I was like, oh man, I would love to be that guy who is older and he is looked upon, you know, like looked up, you know. But instead of like, you know, being an influence towards partying and drugs, to be like a positive influence toward like Jesus and you know, commitment with God. So I think it's a big thing to be a role model to young guys, you know. I think what you're doing is like super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say that's probably one of my biggest passions is like, I was sharing us this earlier, but like discipling young
Let's
people,
go.
young men, is especially because it's such a need
Absolutely.
with young men following God and being risk takers. It's such a need. I think that's a big part of why we are in the place of the world we are right now, is because of like guys not stepping up, not being the leaders and the father figures they're supposed to be, or not even just like obeying God and like loving people the way that God has created them to love people. Because it's not easy. And like, of course, we all have our hardships and challenges as guys and girls. It's different. I think it's just so intriguing. I think it's so, like, I love seeing a guy just like give their lives over and just like, wow, I know how much that took. They have like really fought with it. Like they have done it well, like in some way. It's so fun. I love it. Yeah. Gosh. Yeah. I think it was just like all the moments, like I've just seen guys just like, I had this moment, like I shared with you, I think earlier, like in spring, it's just like this guy just like through the rough on it, everything. He was an internship and everything. And it was like baptism day, and he hadn't like said he would be baptized that day, but I just saw him like at the, like outside of the corner of my eye, and I just saw him like, he was just like leaning over and crying. And I just knew that like he's done, like he's ready, like he's gonna like fully commit to it. And I was like, this is why I do it. Like if this is all for this like one dude, like this is so good. Like I love it. It's such a good thing to like see and be a part of, and like, yeah, so giving, and yeah, amazing.
That's amazing.
Where people can, how can people support you?
How people can support me? There's many avenues. Surfing the Nations, stn.global/Hawaii. You can go to my Instagram as well. I have all the links on my. I also do a blog. So I blog for the last 5+ years, I think it is. Not too much of just like day to day what I'm doing, but just like things on my heart and stuff like that. And on that website, there's like all my links to donation links and mobile pay and whatever, those kind of things. But yeah, that's kind of it. I'm trying to like get a lot on social media nowadays. Like I feel called to like basically share what I feel like God is wanting me to share on social media. So that's a big thing that I'm like not trying to like earn money on it, but it's like I'm also writing a potential book, but that's like another thing with money. I'm not sure if I want to go that direction, but Instagram is probably where you can find most of my information, which is Daniel Carl Henry with a K.
We'll link everything under the video.
Yeah.
Under the podcast episode, yeah. Daniel, thank you so much for coming over all the way from Jutland. And then, of course, all the way from Hawaii.
Yeah, Hawaii.
Denmark is very happy. Or like, I mean, you're a very big blessing for Denmark. That's what I'm trying to say.
Happy to have me.
And,
is that what you?
yeah, Denmark is
okay.
happy to have you.
Yeah.
Because people like you are definitely needed. And especially what you just started, but I mean we could talk about it forever, but you know, fatherhood and this feeling that our generations has, that we didn't have enough mentors, so we want to become more mentors for the
exactly
the kids that are growing up now. I mean that's huge,
big time.
Come on. Thank you for
Thank you for having me,
joining us, and
letting me sleep on the bed over here. In a nice hotel in Copenhagen.
Perfect.
Very nice. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you for today. Bye bye, everybody.
Over. Done.